It's just like myself, after high school, I was 16, 17, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, right? The only thing I knew was I wanted to make a lot of money. And then one day, my dad told me, I know you like money, so why don't you become a civil engineer? It's well paid, and there's always some job. And I thought, well paid, always some job. It sounds like a sure thing, right? So let me give it a try. And that's how I went through a university for 5 years. I became a civil engineer and worked for the government for a few years and then left. Yeah.
Wow, you only did it for a few years. And then did you move into another environment to be a civil engineer?
Basically, originally I'm from Benin, which is a small country in West Africa, where we speak French. So I moved to Canada almost 10 years ago now. And studied, I became a civil engineer, worked for a few years, and then I decided to leave because I thought I'm still young. I can take more risk now.
Yes.
So the time is now to try something else. Maybe I become an entrepreneur and see how it goes. And eventually, I still have the time to come back to being a civil engineer if I have to. Which will not happen. But I believe when you are young, the time is now to take more risk.
And why do you believe that?
Because you have maybe no kids, myself, no kid, no family to take care of. It's just myself, right? So I have definitely that possibility to take more risk right now than maybe in 5-10 years when I have a family.
Yeah, it's definitely more challenging when you have someone else depending on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always works out anyway, but that's my philosophy in life, but you can't really tell the wife and kids that it'll work out, I promise.
Exactly.
There needs to be more of a sense of security because uncertainty is really unnerving.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So you ended up going to civil engineering to satisfy two boxes: always have a job and make good money.
Exactly.
Right. There were plenty of other options. How did you come to pick out this particular avenue?
Because my father said it would be nice, right? So I thought, why not? Because myself, I had no idea. And the reason, another reason is I was doing pretty good in almost all the different classes. So I thought I could become a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, whatever I wanted, right?
Yeah.
But my dad found something that paid well and that there's always some work. So I thought, let's go, right?
Was there a personality test or some sort of assessment that made you choose this versus law?
No. The first thing was I was pretty good at maths, physics. So I thought, why not? This will be fun. So in that sense, that was kind of I would say coming from my strength. Okay, as I was really good at maths and physics.
Well, you could have become a teacher.
Yeah.
But it didn't tick the box for money.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Now, that's just such a brilliant point, because we really do need to look at the lifestyle that surrounds a particular choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And can we live within that lifestyle that it would provide, as in like a teacher's salary versus an engineer's salary?
Yeah.
That's very important to figure out.
Yeah. And as I said, for example, for sure, for the kids, it comes down to knowing what you are really good at, so your strength, and what you want to achieve in your life, and what does it take? What does it take? So you have it. And maybe one very important tip is to talk to people who are working in that field and see by yourself is if this is something you really want, right? So just go and have a talk with that kind of people and see what they are up to, and is that something you really want. And now I understand that we live in a digital world, so you have to pay attention to not just go and have a look at their profile on social media and think you have a pretty good idea of what they are going through. For example, if you want to be an entrepreneur, just not go online and have a look at a few entrepreneurs and decide to become an entrepreneur. That's not how it works. You have to go and talk to them, see by yourself, understand the challenges, and see if that's really something you want, because what's happening online, what you see online, is not always what's really happening in real life.
It's brilliant, Gil. This is exactly what we were looking for. It's brilliant. That's exactly what we're talking about. We have kids coming over here from other countries to attend college, and they have no idea what they want to do. Can you imagine coming here from China or another country and going, I don't know, I'm in school, I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. And for example, if you are Canadian and you are already living here, already living in the country, it's very easy to make some mistake and recover from it. I have seen a lot of people maybe change some university class so many times. But when you are coming from another country, when you are an immigrant, it's very difficult to make a mistake and recover from it, because you are taking more risk, and eventually your family is investing more money, more resources.
Excellent points. All of them. You make excellent points. Let me go back into what it might be like in a day in the life of a civil engineer. And granted, there's going to be some subjectiveness to it.
Yeah.
You know, each individual, hey. But so with the questions that I've sent you, what do you love about your work? Let's just start with that.
I really love the fact that I could get something destroyed, something that was not working anymore or just too old, and then build something better, something new, something more advanced. And that was really, really, really fun. And also I had to manage some big projects from 1 million to many, many millions. And the biggest one I had to manage was 67 millions, a bridge. And as a 23 or 24 years old, having that much responsibility was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. I would have been freaking out. Look at you. You're well suited, hey.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
It was pretty cool. So young to be doing that.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that common in the field that you're in? Or is it just that you're extraordinary with math and physics?
I would say I started really early, going through a university at 17, and I graduated at 21, 22. So, and I was pretty good as well with managing some tasks, managing a team, and having some responsibility. I love the pressure, right? So that was really nice in that sense, and I knew I could do it. So
did you have experience to know that you could manage a team?
Good question. And not really, but I would say since a young age, as a teenage, I always had some leadership position, right?
Yes.
So I could definitely manage some tasks, being in charge, take care of other people, take care of a team. So in that sense, it was pretty easy, I would say.
So you had experience with it. You knew what to do.
Yeah, kind of. But that's not something that is formally taught in school.
No, it's not.
not, no. I had that chance to have had a little bit of experience as I would say a team manager, a leader, right?
In the course of being you before you were running this team, were you? Is the course of your job as a civil engineer, does it include working independently that then you report to a team, or is it? Explain what it's like.
Not really. It was all teamwork, and I would say as a civil engineer, it's it's pretty big, right? For example, if you do some design, you could be working alone, right? And from time to time report to someone else. But managing a project, that's kind of different. You have to be working with a team every time. So I was working with a team every time in that sense.
Are there civil engineers that will never probably want to grasp that opportunity? It's just something that was your nature.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to add that teamwork is very, very important. Back then, we had an engineer who was introvert, just like me. Okay, but in his case, he could not get along with anyone else, and couldn't really get the job done, right? So he had to leave. And if you want to be successful, really successful in life, you have to learn how to work in a team. And that's something you can always manage to learn through school, because you always have the opportunity to work with a team. But somehow some kids still manage to escape from that, right? But you absolutely have to learn to work with a team. Very, very important.
So the introvert in you had to become extroverted, or what?
Yeah, I would say yes. And when I have to deal with other people, work with a team,
Yeah.
I'm completely different. And people will tell me you act like an extrovert, but really I am an introvert. So I had to learn through my experience. I would say the journey. I would say I had to learn, and I believe that's something every single introvert can learn as well.
Have you taken the Myers-Briggs test?
No.
Okay. Sometimes the person can type out as introvert or extrovert. I'm that person. So it depends on the circumstances. Yeah. But go ahead.
I believe really no one is fully introvert, because even when you take someone who appear to be a fully introvert, as soon as you start discussing a subject that they are passionate about, they become extroverts, right? So no one is fully introvert.
That is encouraging news.
Yeah, we all have that part, that extrovert side or introvert side in ourselves, and can definitely type into it when we have to.
What are some of that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. What are some of the other traits, though, that are specific to being a civil engineer that you would recommend a young person take a look at themselves long and hard and say, yeah?
For sure, being an engineer, you need to have a lot of discipline, right? Because you cannot make a mistake most of the time. You cannot make any mistake. Any mistake can be really costly, I would say. That's the number one thing. And number two, for sure, you need to be good at math, physics. If not, it will be definitely harder for you to be a civil engineer. Something else, depending on what you'll be doing as a civil engineer, you need to be able to work in a team, so manage a team. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. What are the challenges that you face on a daily basis?
Good question.
How much time do we have? Yeah. Okay, that sounds like a big one.
Yeah, the biggest challenge was making decision. Uh, yeah, because having that much responsibility, you have to make a good decision, because any bad decision can be really costly. And it's not always easy to make decision, right? So that was the biggest challenge, and for sure, going through the work, I had to learn how to make decision, and yeah, that's how it went. Yeah,
So here's a question from my side.
yeah.
It would seem to be plain and simple math. This is what engineering is involved. There's no decision in it. It either works or it doesn't. How is it that someone needs to learn how to make a decision, and how did you do that?
Like for sure, number one will be from experience. And if you do not have the experience, you have to learn how to consult other people. And as engineers, often we have a lot of pride, but you have you have to be able to ask for help and ask other people, so you can be able to make a good decision. Very, very important. A very, very important part, right?
That's just a sign of wisdom, not weakness, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. It's unfortunate that so many think otherwise, but honestly, as long as there are books probably that have been written, there's been an understanding that there's been a confidant, or mentor, a coach, and somebody. There's got to be somebody. You weren't born with the knowledge, right?
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
and one of the things that you said, what I believe the word was ego. Did you say that?
Yeah, ego, pride.
Yeah, ego and pride. So
Yeah.
in making a decision as to whether the bridge should go left or right, I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, that would be, for example, if we have to build a new road, and the foundation seem not to be that good, do we excavate the whole material and replace with some new material, which is costly, a lot of money. But for example, I would say I prefer to spend that extra money instead of building the road and then having some issue, because then that will cost more money even to do the repair, right?
Yes.
So that would be a one way of making a decision in that case.
So it sounds like you have to be willing to accept responsibility for your decisions.
Yeah, a lot of responsibility.
And with the prevalence of narcissists in our society, it would be difficult to work alongside one who would never accept responsibility.
Yeah.
So one really should know whether or not that's their personality, don't you think?
Exactly. And I have seen even most of civil engineers don't want to take responsibility. Most of people are afraid to take responsibility.
Wait a minute, did you just say most engineers won't?
Yeah, like in that sense, like explaining, for example, why we spend that much money. Okay, like they don't want to make the decision because they don't want to have the responsibility at the end. But someone like me, I have no issue with making the decision, because I know I can explain why I made that decision, right? I can take full responsibility.
Absolutely. If you're building on a different kind of soil, then it's not going to, hold up later. I mean, come on, that you would think everyone would agree with you, but they don't.
Yeah.
It's a budgetary thing in the moment, perhaps.
Exactly.
I got you.
And you have to make the decision fast as well, because the longer it takes, for example, the contractor can bill us for being on hold.
Yes.
So not making decision fast enough costs money as well.
So wouldn't it be just a matter of pure science that you're just saying, look, here's the lab report, or here's the soil samples, here's what we know. How could that possibly be an issue?
Yeah, exactly. You have to document everything, right? Have, for example, some tests that have been done, and being able at some point to explain yourself if you have to.
Absolutely. And then I would imagine you definitely have a strong leadership quality about you. The other ones that do not, they pretty much are kind of go along with it and they're happy to support your decision. Is that
Uh,
how it goes?
I mean, as long as there is someone to take responsibility for the decision, that should not be an issue.
As long as you're willing to take the heat, they're along for the ride. No worries, mate.
Exactly. So as long as I say, okay, I'm in charge of the project, so I'm making the decision and I take full responsibility, and that's how it goes. Yeah.
I got it. In looking back on any part of your career choice, whether
Yeah.
it was in high school or in college, is there anything that you would say to your younger self or to a younger person listening to you right now? Listen, this is where I think it could be improved. This is what you could gain from my knowledge. Please share that as we wrap this interview up. Please share that.
As I said, it all comes down to knowing who you are, what are your strengths, what do you really want, and what will it take to get there, right? So myself, for sure, if, for example, you want to make a lot of money, maybe you want to learn about how to build a business, right? Maybe you want to learn first finance and trading, right? Maybe coming from looking at your strength, if you are good at math or physics, maybe you want to be an engineer. On the flip side, if you are good at chemistry, you want to be a good doctor. On the other side, if you never like school, or maybe you were not that good at school, but instead you had that entrepreneurial spirit, that entrepreneurial talent, maybe you want to go and talk to an entrepreneur, not just look at the social media, very important. Go and talk to them and see by yourself what they are up to. And if that's really the life you want to have, and you really have what it takes.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant advice. See if you have what it takes. Do you think that if someone's called to do something that they could, I mean, the calling's big enough, but maybe the aptitude isn't obvious, that it could be learned in your field? Or is it just like, man, you're just not good at physics, man. This is not going to work out.
It really depends. If it can be learned, you can definitely go and do it if you are willing to put in the work. But on the flip side, I always advise people to have a look at their strength, because it's always better to work on your strength and be really better at it than working on your weakness, because then you will have just more weaknesses, I guess, right? So in that sense, always keep in mind your strength and what you are naturally good at.
Now, I love that you're encouraging that, and it can be hard to do when you're young, and we've got our parents sort of pushing the thumb, you know, do this. I know better than you. I know better than you. Yeah. Did you have the opportunity to do an informational interview, or was it just your dad saying, no, this is the best thing, son?
No interview. And it was just like an advice from my dad. Really, this is what you have to. It was just kind of an advice, and I said yes, right? Because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Okay. But as I said, it's really important to educate the parents as well, because people always have that pressure on them from their parents. And the reality is, at the end of the day, it's your life, and you deserve to be happy, not make your parents happy.
Brilliant, my friend. That's absolutely the point of our project. It is your life. You do have to live this life out.
Yeah.
Long after you walk across the stage or say thank you for that diploma, whatever it is that got you there, it is your life.
Exactly.
And have the courage to live that out.
Yeah.
Any regrets that you have? You're laughing.
Good question. I never thought about that because I'm more focused on what comes next. most of the time I have no time to think about any regret, because I believe having some regret is just a poison. It's just too bad for the future, right? You just have to focus on the lesson you have learned, and focus on what comes next in the future, what you want to achieve, what you really have to work on to be happy yourself.
So for you, what's next? Is it a bigger budget project? Is it owning your own company? Is it something else that you're up to right now?
Like I said, right now I have moved from being a civil engineer to being a sales consultant, and absolutely I have some big project for the future. So I hope it works, and for sure it will work, because there is no other choice. Yeah.
Brilliant. I can't thank you enough for your time. You have been in the industry of civil engineering for how long at this point?
I would say 4 years, 5 years.
That's sort of a time. Wow, you're such a young man, and you're so mature, so grown up.
Thank you.
It might seem obvious to you or silly, but it's not. How old are you?
26.
You're 26.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're 26, and look at you. Wow, that's impressive. It really is. So bravo to you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your interview on civil engineering, and what could possibly be the best traits or the best things for a young person to take a look at. You've been articulate, and appreciate very much your time on this. And stay tuned, guys. We're going to come back with another exciting interview from another yet compelling career choice.